Welcome back, our viewers here in the United States and around the world. I'm Kate Baldwin. Thank you for sticking with us. As rioters attacked the U.S. Capitol, the rest of the world, as well as the country, watched in shock. Just look at the front pages of just some newspapers. From Canada, a headline declaring what happened Wednesday, anarchy. In Italy, one paper went with the headline, Once Upon a Time in America. And the Times of India with this, Ku Klux Klan, Don triggers mob in Rob bid. And this is what the president of Turkey had to say about it.
The United States, which is the so-called pinnacle of democracy, has really shocked all of humanity and surprised everyone. It has similarly surprised us, too.
Let's get some perspective from two of our senior international correspondents. Sam Kiley is in Jerusalem, and Ara Dame is joining me now from Istanbul, Turkey. It's good to see you guys, unfortunately, about this. I mean, Sam, I've heard from high-level people here in the administration that America's credibility has taken a major blow after this attack. How is the attack on the Capitol being viewed by allies and by adversaries?
Well, if you take, Kate, the example of Benjamin Netanyahu as tight an ally with the American president or outgoing president as could be, a reaction of disgust, a condemnation of the events, but not in the case of Netanyahu's own statements of the man himself. So the incitement that led to the invasion of the US Capitol not being blamed on Donald Trump. You look on the other side of the argument, you see over in Iran, President Hassan Rouhani calling Donald Trump a sick man and exposing in the Iranian perspective the vulnerabilities of Western democracy to the presence of what he called that sick man. But yes, right across the world, there's been round condemnation. Nobody has been supportive of it. The real issue is whether or not they've actually pointed the finger of blame at Donald Trump himself, with everybody, particularly in the Middle Eastern region, but around the world really looking forward to a much more stable, or what they hope will be a lot more stable dispensation under Joe Biden. But a lot of that damage has already been done, particularly, of course, in terms of international treaties, not least the nuclear deal with Iran, but also various environmental treaties and the whole attitude of the Trump administration that is anti-internationalist, Kate.
Yeah. Arwa, you wrote something I think is quite important for CNN.com in talking about how you say comparing Wednesday's attack to attacks on legislatures in other countries is superficial. And you say what happened on Wednesday is uniquely American. Explain.
Well, Kate, look, the U.S. has for a very long time really looked down on other countries from an air of moral superiority, which it was able to hold on to a certain degree because it was this beacon of democracy. But comparing what happened in the U.S. to other developing countries that are still in the midst of their fight for freedom and democracy is grossly unfair. And yes, you can draw a superficial comparison when it just comes to the visuals to say when, Iraq's parliament was stormed or Libya or even in Kabul. But America's monster is uniquely American. The dynamics that led to these events are uniquely American, just like these countries' dynamics are uniquely theirs and need to be appreciated as such.
Sam, Democrats here, they say that impeaching the president a second time as a consequence of this is at the very least a way to signal that this can't be allowed in the United States. This can't be tolerated. This isn't what America stands for, what happened. This isn't America, what happened on Wednesday. If it doesn't lead, if an impeachment that could be full steam ahead very quickly, if it doesn't lead to the removal of President Trump, how is this maneuver, do you think, will it be viewed abroad?
Well, I think you put your finger on exactly the danger here in terms of the international reputation of the United States and its constitution. The checks and balances, of course, built to try to prevent insane actions, dangerous actions coming from a presidency and indeed from other parts of the structures. If impeachment doesn't work, then, or isn't carried out, then it's an attempt that has failed, and that would be seen again as very damaging to the kind of jurisprudential reputation of the United States. That people will get past it very rapidly. Nobody really in the outside world fully understands the American system. It's not as clear to foreigners as it is to Americans, perhaps. But ultimately, I think trying and failing to impeach a president would be worse than doing nothing. But there is also, Kate, a very real issue in the international community, not least over Iran, where tensions have been at fever pitch recently, that there was or may already still be a danger that perhaps Donald Trump would do something violent and unpredictable in the dying days of his presidency towards Iran. And in that context, any effort to kind of handcuff his ability to do that at this stage would be welcome.
And look, Ara, it almost is like the question of what Joe Biden needs to project in his inaugural speech and in his first days. It was one thing pre-Wednesday, and it might be something different post-Wednesday. I'm not sure what your view on it is, but what do you think kind of, if you get a sense of from overseas, what could Joe Biden project, say, do that would help reassure the world that American democracy is holding strong?
Kate, I think it's less what he actually says and what ends up being done well beyond his inauguration speech. Because what the U.S. needs to do to try to restore its moral standing to a certain degree is well beyond what one presidency can accomplish. Because the U.S. is going to have to somehow demonstrate to the world, and yes, it is going to be upon the Biden administration to try to undertake this, that it has somehow taken more profound, concrete steps to heal the divisions, to heal the core issues, to address the dynamics that actually led to the Trump presidency and then led to what we saw taking place on Wednesday. And that is no small task, given just how polarized some elements within the United States are at this moment and just how dangerous they can potentially with, again, what we saw taking place in the U.S. Capitol. And that very issue of actually trying to bring a population towards a more middle ground is something that is not going to be happening very quickly, but it is only through somehow trying to achieve that with real action that America is going to be able to perhaps set an example of how do we heal moving forward when something so drastic has happened to our country.
Yeah. Arwa, Sam, thank you guys.